أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Indeed, all the thanks and all the praises are due to Allah, the Almighty, the Creator, the Perpetual, the one forever and ever, the eternal Lord of all ages, the Lord yesterday, the Lord today, the Lord who will always be there, and nobody can take his place. I beseech thee, O Allah, to bestow thy peace and blessings upon the soul of our teacher Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and upon his household. May the peace and blessings of Allah be with you out there, dear listeners, as we take the message today. Today, we're going to be examining the power of thoughts, or the importance of thoughts in our daily lives. The importance or the power of thought in our daily lives. The thoughts that engage our mind are very deep and powerful. The process of thinking is like the process of living, because how we think is how we live. If you think well, you will most likely live well. But if you engage your thoughts negatively, then it could affect not only you as an individual, but also could affect the whole polity. Entire nation can be affected. The entire populace can be affected as a result of the negative thought oozing out of a person's mind. But the question I want to ask you is this: why do we have nations rise against nations? Why do we have racial discrimination? Black against white, the xenophobia, or sometimes you call it Islamophobia. Why do we have religious bigotry? People of different religious extractions making vile and egregious comment among themselves. They don't want to see themselves eyeball to eyeball because we think bad thought about ourselves. We become so intolerant of ourselves, because when you think bad about me and I think bad about you, then we don't want to accept ourselves. We become so intolerant of ourselves. So we can't live in a good nation. We can't build a good nation. Why do we have pogroms? Why do we have pogroms when a whole ethnic tribal community will be wiped off by state architecture? Sometimes you could organize quiet killing, silent killing of people. Why do groups attack themselves? Why do we have husband and wife killing themselves in the worst and most dastardly act ever being committed? We've had cases of this. Why do we have families disintegrate? Why do we have friends turned to enemies? Why do we have colleagues at work standing at each other's throat and I'm going to hack you, you hack me? All these are as a result of bad and negative thoughts. The brothers and sisters, dear listeners, everything will be well if we think positive thoughts about ourselves. Everything will be well when we say good things about ourselves, when we write good things about ourselves, when we do good things to ourselves, when you help me and I help you, when you support me and I support you, everything will be well. Even when mistakes are made, it will be seen when we think well about ourselves and mistakes are made. We will think well about ourselves because we will consider those mistakes as human errors. And we won't see them as congenital stupidity, that why would you do this? And we begin to make negative comment about ourselves. Everything will be well when societies are built based on positive thoughts amongst its populace. But everything will be bad once we allow negative thoughts engage our minds about ourselves. How do negative thoughts engage our minds? How do we act based on negative thoughts? And how impactful this could be? Negative thoughts affect the way we see things. It's just like seeing through a dirty screen. It pollutes your sight. It makes you not to see clearly, right? When we have negative thoughts in our mind, we hear and pay attention only to bad words because that is where our interest is. Even when other people are making good comment, we say, no, 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 we don't want to hear good things about him. We want to hear negative comment about him because our thoughts are negative. When we have negative thoughts engage our mind will say bad things about ourselves and we do evil things at ourselves, to ourselves, and this can destroy the larger society. And that is why we are encouraged. You ask yourself, how do negative thoughts engage minds of people? Through windows we have, through what we hear, and through what we see. And that is why we are encouraged to avoid suspicion, false tales, fake news, gossip, lying, backbiting, because these will bring bad images. When we see and we hear, it settles in our minds negatively as negative thoughts. Even when false tales are brought to you, my brothers, my sisters, be patient. Do not settle for it. Rather, seek for clarification from the source by asking questions. Avoid suspicion, avoid satanic whispering, avoid anger, put things in right perspectives, and do not be judgmental. And with this, we can handle the worst of all suspicion because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that inna ba'da dhanni ithmun. Whenever we allow negative thoughts in our mind or we allow suspicious statements, we allow rumors, we allow false tales spread, it could lead us into evil and sin because those suspicious thoughts can settle in our minds and will make us to say or do some bad things about ourselves. Now let's go to the Quran now. In Quran chapter 5, verses 27 to 31, Allah gives us the example from the story of the two sons of Adam. You see, these are two sons of Adam, of course, brothers from the same parents. But the moment one of them allowed negative thoughts to settle in his mind against his brother, he didn't see anything wrong with killing him. And that's what we have today. People do not see anything wrong in killing their fellow human beings. They consider it as, well, I got the opportunity, so I take him off. No, this is not right. Because like Allah puts it in the Quran, specifically in verse 30, Allah says, فَطَوَّعَتْ لَهُ نَفْسُهُ قَتْلَ أَخِيهِ فَقَتَلَ. His mind allowed him, to have the thoughts that he should kill his brother. And this is because he had a thought in his mind that this my brother is the stumbling block that I got to remove. And Shaitan uses thought against him through negativity, and Fakotala, he didn't see anything wrong. He never saw anything wrong with killing his brother, and he killed him. But eventually, فَأَشْبَهَ مِنَ النَّادِمِينَ. It was after killing him that he discovered that even when he killed his brother, what Allah has not destined for him, he won't have it. And that's the problem today. If you are not patient, you allow negative thought, you will have made some errors and mistakes about your brother unknown to you, only to discover that all the things you had said, all the thoughts that engaged your mind about him was wrong. But if the deed had been done, then you got yourself to blame for that. Did you know, my brother, that there are despicable people around who move from place to place, from office to office, from house to house, from geo phones, and they use their call cards and they call these, they call that. Only the main intention is to spread bad information and negative rumors about people. Such people are the worst form of human beings because, like Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu says that إياكم والظن أكذب الحديث, that I warn you against negative suspicion and negative thoughts about people, because that is the worst form of tales. Now, furthermore, Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it tells us that anyone who has the penchant or develop the attitude of spreading bad rumors amongst people and making people who used to live happily to now begin to live bad by spreading bad rumors amongst people, that person will not make Jannah, will not enter the paradise. Furthermore, he said, I advise you to stay away from backbiting, because the sin of backbiting is even greater than the sin of committing zina, that's fornication or adultery. And the companions asked him when he said this. He said, what happens if what we say about our brother or sister, what happens if what we say about him is true? Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, even when whatever you might say about him is true, what you have done is you have backbeaten him. It's still backbiting. It's still one of the worst crimes in the sight of Allah. And if it turned out that what you have said about him is not true, then what you have done to your brother or sister is that you have slandered him. And quite simply, Allah gives us something graphical. He said, "Ayuhibbu ahadukum an ya'kula lahma akhihi maytan fakarihtumuh." Will any one of you wish to eat the dead carcass of his brother? That someone died, they say, eat is dead meat. From the body that has started corroding and and rusting and stuff like this with maggots, and someone gives you this rotten body with maggots all over, and someone cuts the flesh to you and gives to you, put it in your plate raw like that with maggots and everything filthy, and it says eat. Fakaritumu. The Quran says you won't want to eat it, but keep in mind, each time you spread bad rumors, each time you say make bad statement, each time you spread negative thought about your brother, what you're exactly doing is you are eating his carcass. So since you will hate to do that, really naturally, you stay away from spreading bad rumors. Now let's see how terrible this could be. This we somehow we try to euphemistically we try to look at this thing as being nothing. It's just nothing. I just pick up my phone. I just want to gist with my friend. I just want to hang out. Hey, it's not hanging out here. What you're doing is you're committing one of the greatest crimes in God's sight. Let's see how bad this could be. In 1995, an incident happened in Oklahoma when Timothy McVeigh was they call it local terrorist. Subhanallah. Local terrorist, they didn't call him whatever, when he bombed the city, and the news spread ab initio, and that's where I'm going to now. Negative thoughts spread, negative rumors spread. Then Oklahoma had been bombed by Muslim fanatics, in those days they call it Ayatollah terrorists, That's what they call it then. Only to discover at the end of the investigation that the person who bombed the city was not even a Muslim, was a Christian friend, right? You call it a friend, of course, an enemy of the state. But initially, people have been going about ranting, Muslim these, Muslim terrorists, only to discover that, hey, Muslim didn't bomb the city. So many people lost their lives. You remember Colin Powell, the late Colin Powell, and in fact he said that this comment that he made, he made a presentation when he wanted in the United Nations that he wanted to justify that Iraqi government then had WMD, and he said a statement that day. I still remember very vividly the way he made the presentation. It was like real time, only to discover this was based on a pack of lies, right? He said that, before he died, he said this was a stain on his integrity, that he could go out there to say something only to end up that what he said was built on lies. But what happened? The whole country was attacked based on lies and suspicion, negative statements. More than 500,000 children were killed. 500,000 children. I'm not talking about adults, because of negative, bad comments, suspicious statements, rumors. They were unconfirmed, and later on it was discovered that these were all lies. Now, luckily, in Nigeria, in a state called Jos, Plateau State, a man dressed in Muslim attire and went and placed a bomb in a church during church service. He was caught. The man was caught. And before you knew it, news spread all over. A Muslim terrorist has been caught. He wanted to, he wanted to cause religious crises and all this stuff. Wow. At the end of the investigation, it was discovered that this man was not a Muslim. He only dressed in Muslim attire, that he was just in the other church. That maybe there were issues and stuff like this, and you just want to make it bad, look back that this is a worst case scenario, that these Muslims, and you have this Frankenstein, apocalyptic, view of the Muslims. Say, okay, if you think about anything terrorist, it should be Muslims. So they just reached the conclusion then, but at the end of the investigation, it was discovered that this man wasn't a Muslim. This is how bad it could be. Supposing that was not unearthed, it was not uncovered, then people will have concluded that, hey, this guy was a Muslim. And it could have, led into so many, it could have snowballed into a bigger problem rather. Now, the last example is a man in one of the states killed his 78-year-old mother. Oh, my Allah. He killed his 78-year-old mother because he was told by marabouts that your mother is the one responsible for your failure, your business failure. You're not going to make it in life unless you take her off. And he went, got the cutlass and slaughtered the mother because he wanted to take off the obstacle. This is how bad thought could be, right? So we don't tolerate it. We don't allow it. Don't settle for it, because if you settle for it, it will control you, the way you see things. It will control you, the way you do things, the way you talk to people, the way you react. You become so intolerant. You become so unsettled with people, living with people. And this is not a good life. Like I said, if you want to live well, think well. Now, how do we solve this problem? Like I said just now, just a short while ago, that the solution to it is that we should begin to allow positive thoughts in our mind in order that our lives will be turned profoundly positively. And practically, we should begin to engage kindness to our neighbors. Kindness to your neighbors, whatever the person might be, at home, your neighbors at home, your neighbors in the office, your neighbors around you, right? Nations, being neighbors to other nations. We should allow good things good interplay, good interaction, to happen between us. And what you want others to do to you, try much as it is possible not to do it to other people. If you are in doubt about the activities of your neighbor, your friends, avoid satanic whispering, seek for clarification, and ask questions. Furthermore, make people around you to feel well. Do not make people around you to feel bad. Do not talk to people in a disparaging way. Do not shout at people. Do not insult people. Do not denigrate people. Do not speak arrogantly. Do not make a demeanor. Do not treat people like, we don't need you. You are not useful. I can do without you. Don't talk to people like this, right? Don't see yourself as being independent of all people, because you can't live as an island. Everybody needs somebody. And one of the best ways is to interact with people peacefully and in a nice manner, without allowing negative thoughts, without allowing negative words coming from you to others. And finally, love others like you love yourselves. Like you love yourself, love others too. And if you love yourselves, Allah's mercy will descend on you, because God's presence is manifested wherever there is love. And his presence is not seen whenever people don't love themselves. I pray for you, my brother, that Allah will make positive thoughts, positive idea to percolate the whole of your heart today and every day. As you go today, I want you to challenge yourself I'm going to avoid negativity. I'm going to avoid saying bad things about people. I'm going to avoid thinking bad things, bad thought about people. I'm going to stay away from rumors. I'm going to stay away from backbiting. I'm going to stay away from lying. I'm going to stay away from gisting that can just take me to haram or sinful deeds, and I begin to make bad comment about my brother or my sister. If you can do this, then I can assure you, you will begin to live well. And if you can live well, you will meet Allah in a very, very good state. I pray for you, my brother. I pray for you, my sister. God will bless you and grant you peace and security. I ask Allah for this nation and all the nations of the world. Crises everywhere is because we don't think well about ourselves. I ask Allah to bring peace to this world, peace, harmony, security, prosperity to this nation and all the nations of the world. I want to thank you. I want to thank you most profoundly for finding time out of your tight schedule to listen to this message today. As you've listened, please also find time to share this message on your social media platform. And as you do that, Jazakumullahu khairan. I ask Allah to bless you and reward you abundantly. Supposing you have question, comments, correction, or what have you, please feel free to call my mobile on 080-668-285-76. I remain yours sincerely, Imam Tawfiq Miqdad. Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you. Ma'as salamat.